Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, I'm going to be teaching you a song that is very special to me, because this was a song I wrote for someone who was very special to me. And at the time that I wrote it, I felt like it was the best pop song I had ever written. And it's been many years since I wrote this song, and I still feel that way. Now, I do have to give a big shout out to everybody who played on this track, and there's a lot of folks who played on this track. I'm going to list everyone's names and what instrument they played in the description box below, because this song would have not come out as beautiful as it did without their amazing talents. Now let's take a step back. Let's talk a little bit about this tune from a playing standpoint for the ukulele. So in the performance, we saw Evan playing lead and rhythm. Now, for the sake of this lesson, what I wanted to do was to combine my favorite aspects of both of those parts that he played and teach this song as if it was written for just one ukulele. Now, with that said, we are going to have two versions of the tablature. So if you like something that Evan did that I'm not teaching in the lesson version, you can go ahead and print off the performance version, Evan's version, which is a note-for-note transcription of everything he played for the rhythm track and everything he played for the lead track as well. But for this lesson, if you are printing the tabs off to follow along with, make sure you print off Andrew's version, aka the lesson version. So in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to play the entire song except for the really cool solo that Evan played. I'm going to be teaching how to play that solo in the part 2 lesson, which you can check out by clicking this link right here, or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for Just Like My Dreams. Now also on that page will be the tabs that I just mentioned, so you can print those off, keep for your records, plus the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. And last but not least, we will have backing tracks. So I'm going to be uploading 100% speed and 75% speed. So once you learn how to play this tune, you can rock out with the band at home. So let's go ahead and jump into learning it. A few things we want to touch on first though. This is a song that works for either high G or low G. If you want to copy Evan, he used a high G on both the rhythm and the lead. But for me, I'm going to be teaching it on low G because I like the extra added depth and warmth that the low G ukulele gives me. But feel free to follow along with either tuning. They both work throughout the entire song. And let's talk a little bit about our right hand approach for finger picking and strumming. So for this song, you can use a 4 or a 3 finger approach for finger picking. So a 4 finger approach means that your thumb gets string 4, index gets string 3, middle gets string 2, ring gets string 1. And if we wanted, we could simplify it to a 3 finger approach, works just as well. So thumb would get double duty, so 4 and 3. Index gets string 2, middle gets string 1. And as far as strumming, we're actually only going to be doing down strums in this tune. So for down strums, I'm just going to use the nails of my middle and ring finger to strum down. And that'll give me a nice bright strum sound, as opposed to if I used my thumb, the flesh of my thumb to strum down. So I can get a little bit more brightness if I strum down with my nails. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. This song is in 6/8. So if we put up the first 4 bars of the tab, we can see that we do not play anything for the first 3. So anytime we're not playing, we always want to count ourselves in, and we want to count this way. We want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 2, 3, da da da. Right? Because if we count it that way, we know which measure we're on at all times. If we count it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we could get lost potentially. Probably not when there's only a few bars we have to count in. But if you had a song that had a, let's say a bass guitar solo where you had to count 32 measures where you're not playing, the first method is really, really useful in knowing where you're at in the form. So the first 3 bars, we're not playing. we start on measure 4 and we come in at the second half of the measure. So beat 4, 5, 6. So for this opening little melody line, we can actually consider this kind of like our pickup measure. So we have just 3 little notes. 4, 5, slide. Just our little melodic lead. So go ahead and take your index finger, put it on the 4th fret of string 2, play that note, then use your middle finger to play 5, same string, and then pluck and slide. So we're going up a whole step to sev. So we have 4, 5, sev. We try it together starting on beat 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sev. Okay, now let's go ahead and move on to the next 4 bars. So if we look at just measure 5, we can see that we're playing on beat 1 and beat 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going back to 5, same strings, just the E string. We're going to play that note, hold it out for half the measure, and then go back to your index finger for the 4th fret. Hold that out for half the measure, plus it ties into the next measure, and it ties in for the first half of the next measure. So you want to think of bar 5 and 6 like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Okay? At that point, you're going to play that same melody, 4, 5, sev, but this time we're not doing that little 5 to 7 slide. We're just going to play single notes. 4, 5, sev, and I like to use index, middle, pinky to walk up. So 4, 5, 7th fret. Okay, so let's do this. Let's see if we can try measure 5 and 6 just in and of itself. So let me count us in. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sev. Nice. Now to finish up, we're going to go to the 7th fret on the A string, go up a whole step, so slide to 9, and we're going to hold that out for half of that bar. So we have 1, 2, 3. On beat 4, we're going to go back to 7. We can use our index finger, and we hold that out for the rest of that measure plus measure 8. So if I play 7 and 8 in and of itself and count it, sounds like this. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, done. Now, for this whole intro, I would actually recommend practicing it in its entirety because it's going to sound like music if you do it as such. Da 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 dum ba. Da 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 da. Don't be afraid to sing it, even if you don't hit all the notes like me, because singing it always helps you. If you can sing it, you can play it. So I would recommend just practicing the entire intro. If we try it together, let's go ahead and just count off the first 3 bars without playing. Then we'll come in second half of measure 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 2, 3. Nice. So at this point, let's see if we can do a play along with the band. We'll start at the very beginning so you can practice that count in again. And I'm going to keep it at 100% speed. If you need to slow it down, you can use that cog in the YouTube player to do just such. But let's give it a go, and then we'll come back and we'll learn the verse. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our verse. So if we look at the first 2 bars, the first thing we're going to notice is that we are playing out of 1 chord. So we have an E sus 2. So let's go ahead and make that shape. We're going to do a partial bar chord, which means that we're going to not bar across all 4 strings, but we're going to bar across just 2. So go ahead and take that index finger, lay it flat on the 2nd fret, strings 1 and 2. Then take your ring finger, put it on the 4th fret of string 4, and your pinky underneath it, so it's the 4th fret of string 3. And go ahead and just strum down. Let's make sure we've got this ringing out. So we have 4, 4, 2, 2. Now if you need a little bit of help with bar chords, if they're a bit tricky, then jump into the lesson that I'm linking below. Actually, I'm going to link 2. I'm going to link an introductory for working on proper left-hand form for bar chords, and then I'm going to give you another extra lesson, which is I like to call it the bar chord boot camp. So nothing but bar chords in that lesson. But assuming we've got this shape down, let's do this. Let's take a look at just the first half of this 9th measure. If we look at this, we can see the pattern that we're playing. We are doing a arpeggiated down strum followed by string 4, then plucking 1 and 2, then string 4, then plucking 1 and 2. So our pattern is down, 4 pluck, 4 pluck. Keep that pattern in mind. Let's move the box to the second half of this measure. What do we notice? We have a regular down strum, so no arpeggiated down strum, followed by the same pattern, 4 pluck, 4 pluck. Let's move the box to the first half of measure 10. We see the exact same pattern, down, 4 pluck, 4 pluck. And finally, let's move it to the very last half of this measure. And our pattern changes for the first time. We have what I like to call the shortened pattern. So for this one, we have down, 4 pluck, 4. So one less note to play in this shortened pattern. So for this tune, you can consider this one pattern number 2, or the short pattern. And the previous ones that we covered, you can consider that pattern number 1, or the long pattern. I would say 90% of this tune is you playing either the short pattern or the long pattern. So once you learn how to do this with your right hand, you will be golden throughout most of this tune. So let's go back to the first half of measure 9. So we can see this fancy little squiggly line. That means an arpeggiated strum. Go ahead and make that chord we just learned how to do. I'm going to do a little bit of a barrel roll strum. This is a strumming technique that has a lot of names. Most of the time it's called the rasgueado strum, which is popularized from flamenco music. If you have never done this technique before and you want to learn how to do it, jump into this lesson. It's a flamenco tune called La Gitanita, and I teach the mechanics behind that strumming technique step by step. Plus, I teach you another really cool technique for picking, which is called picado. Plus, the song is really fun to play. So if you want to learn how to do it, check that out. I will say that this little arpeggiated strum, it is optional. So if you don't like it and you don't like how it sounds, feel free to replace it with just a regular down strum. Either or works. But we're going to start with a down strum. Then we're going to follow it by playing string 4 by itself. I'm going to use my thumb to pluck that. Then I'm going to pluck 1 and 2 together. I'm going to use my middle and my ring to pluck those. Back to string 4 by itself, and then 1 and 2 together. So our long, or pattern number 1, is down, 4 pluck, 4 pluck. So let me say that one more time. Pattern number 1, which is the long pattern, is down, 4 pluck, 4 pluck. And again, if you want to arpeggiate it, you can add that little barrel roll for the first hit. Now look at the second half of measure 9. It's the exact same pattern, but this time around, just a straight, simple down strum to kick us off. Look at measure 10, the first half, same pattern. And finally, we go to pattern number 2, or the short pattern, which is down, 4 pluck, 4. So just a shortened pattern. So if we try the short pattern together, we have down, 4 pluck, 4, down, 4 pluck, 4, down, 4 pluck, 4, down, 4 pluck, 4. And let's try that long pattern together. We have down, 4 pluck, 4 pluck, down, 4 pluck, 4 pluck, down, 4 pluck, 4 pluck, down, 4 pluck, 4 pluck. So again, most of the song is either one of the two patterns, the long or the short. Okay, so if we try this entire 9 and 10 together, it sounds like this. So I played it 2 times in a row, so you can go back, try it with me, jump in on the second time. But when I demoed it, I omitted that arpeggiated strum for the first hit. So again, it's optional. If you want to add it, it sounds really cool, just adds a little bit more color. If you want to leave it out, all good. You can replace it with a simple down strum. Now, let's do this. Let's move on to the next 2 bars. So that's a good gist of what it sounds like. The first thing we notice, we are playing out of 1 chord again for these 2 bars. The second thing we're going to notice, and let's do one thing for this tab. Let me add this black box over this hammer-on hit. So if we put the red box around the first half of measure 11, take a look at that pattern. Looks a lot like the long pattern. Move the box to the second half. We've got the long pattern. Move the box to measure 12, first half. Got the long pattern. And finally the last half, short pattern. So we have the exact same right hand with one little change. Look back at the very start of this bar, measure 11. Let's get rid of this black box. And here's our change. Instead of just strumming the chord for beat 1, we are going to jazz it up a little bit and add a little hammer on. So make the stock A major chord, and I want you to hammer on with your ring finger to that second fret of string 1. So we have hammer, then finish up the pattern, 4 pluck, 4 pluck. So we have hammer, 4 pluck, 4 pluck. That's the change. Hammer, 4 pluck, 4 pluck. So you can think of this as a slight little variation. Let's look at the second half of measure 11. We have the same pattern, so keep that ring finger held down. So we have the long pattern, down, 4 pluck, 4 pluck. Look at the next measure, down, 4 pluck, 4 pluck. And finally the last half, down, 4 pluck, 4. So we literally have a little variation at the start, and then everything else was just like the previous 2 bars in terms of what our right hand is doing. So if we try this one together, I'll play it once, you come in the second time. That's what it sounds like. So not too hard, right? Let's go ahead and move on to the next couple bars. So if we look at just the first measure, measure number 13, we can see we're going back to E sus2. But there's one difference, right? Look at the second half of this measure. You can see instead of doing the long pattern, we are doing the short pattern, which brings up a really good point. We do the short pattern anytime we have a chord change. So if you look at measure 14, you are changing to a different voicing of an E. We have an E major 7. So anytime we are switching chords, we do the short pattern to give our left hand a little bit more time to switch to that next shape. So if we try this one together, we have 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, and 6. And that short pattern will give us more time to grab this next shape. So let's look at this next shape. Take your index finger, lay flat on the 4th fret, so it's a full bar chord. Then take your ring finger, put it on 6 on string 1. We have an E major 7. So a little bit tricky because it's a full bar chord. But if we look at what we're playing here, we have long followed by short. So putting it together, I have okay. So this one may be the bar that you, or 2 bars that you want to practice on your own, nice and slow. So that's what it sounds like. Slow it down. So hit pause in this video. Practice that one nice and slow. I will say if you find the change going to E major 7 too challenging, feel free to just stay on E sus2 the entire time. That chord works just as well in this part of the music. Now let's go ahead and move on to our next couple bars. And I think you're going to notice something about them. So we can see that they are identical to the previous A add 9 measures that we had learned. So nothing changes here. So let's get rid of all this tab. So in a nutshell, the verse is 8 bars in length. And we are literally, for the most part, going from E to A, E to A. And Evan did throw in that one little change where we had E to the major 7. That is optional, so if you want to throw in that little change, you're more than welcome to. But all in all, it's literally just... And you can hear that I flubbed a little bit of the last time on A, and I started to turn my playing into strumming to save myself. So if you make a mistake while you're playing, play through it. You can always cover up your mistakes by switching to strumming, just down and up, and no one will notice. The only time people notice is when you stop playing and you start again. But remember, you're playing this song with the band. The band will keep going. If you make a mistake, they won't stop. So never ever stop when you get it to performance ready mode. So let's do this, guys. Let's see if we can do verse 1 with the band. We'll start a couple bars before so you have time to jump in, but we'll keep it at 100% speed. Again, if you need to slow it down, feel free to use that cog in the YouTube player, but let's give it a go. Okay, so going into our pre-chorus, we are going to switch things up for the pre-chorus. Here's what our first measure, let's just tackle one at a time for this. Here's what the first measure sounds like. So we're playing out of 2 chords. Let's go ahead and learn the first one. We have a B5. So take your index, put it on 6 on string 3, middle is 7 on string 2, pinky is 9 on string 1. We can pluck, and then we're going to play out of this chord shape. We're going to go string 2, string 3, 1, 2, 3. Rhythmically keep it steady. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay, so keep it nice and steady. So ba da da ba da da. Try with me. So looping these parts is always a great way to practice instead of always going 1, 2, 3 and then jumping in. So you can get a little bit more practice just by looping. Going to the next shape, we're going to bar with our index finger on that 6th fret from the 3rd string down, add your middle to 7 on string 1, and we're going to pluck and then do the exact same picking pattern. So pluck, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's see if we can try B5, F sharp 7. Pretty easy, right? Going into our next measure, we are going to an A major 7. It's going to start off a little bit tricky because you have a hammer-on that is fast. So that's what it sounds like, that fast hammer-on. One more time. That's what we get. So take your index finger, lay flat on the 9th fret, strings 1, 2, and 3. We're going to pluck just the 9s and then hammer on with your ring to 11 on string 1. So fast. Now if that's too hard, you can just forget about doing the hammer-on in and of itself, and you can just lay flat, add your ring, and just pluck and make it easier instead of doing this crazy little fast hammer-on. So I'll leave it up to you. But I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Sounds like that. Now our picking pattern's different. We're gonna go down, then up twice. So we have 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So down the first time, up 2 times. So we have hammer, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Then there's one extra hit, which is string 1 again at the very end. So think of it like that. Ba da 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 da. That makes it sound complete, like a full musical phrase. So I'll let you try that one on your own, because I think this is going to be the hardest one in the pre-chorus. But just hit pause on the video, see if you can keep it nice and steady. Try that one on your own. But if I put 17 and 18 together, it sounds like this. Nice. And let's do this. Let's take a look at the next couple bars. If we just glance at it, we can see it's almost 100% identical, except for the very ending. Look at the very last note. We have a harmonic, and that harmonic sounds like this. And then if we look at the next measure, we have another harmonic. So 7 on string 1. So let's go back to the previous 2 bars. So we're going to play a harmonic on the 7th fret of string 2. Now I'm using the plucking method, which brings up a good point. If you're new to playing harmonics, you want to jump into our harmonics course. I'm going to link it in the description box below, but it teaches you 3 ways to create or play harmonics. So I'm going to keep moving forward with the assumption you know how to make these on your own. But for the first harmonic, I'm just going to pluck 7 on string 2. And then for the second harmonic, 7 on string 1. Now it definitely helps if you have more of a fingernail. I just trimmed my nails yesterday, so my harmonics sound very, very weak right now. So it definitely helps if you do not trim your nails completely like I just did. Bad timing on my part, didn't think this one through. So try to keep the nail just a little bit longer so you can actually have something to pluck these harmonics and really get them to ring out with. But those 2 harmonics together sound like this. There we go. So you're going to be adding those harmonics at the very end. So you have okay. So that's what you're going to be playing. It's just a little variation at the very end. So you're literally doing the same 17 and 18 again, just pasting a couple harmonics at the end. Now, if we look at the end of 21, we can see we are going to start that same little melody, but we're playing it in a different spot on the neck this time around. So that melody is going to be 7 on string 1 with our index, 9 on string 1 as well, but with our ring, and then slide up to 11. So we have 7, 9, 11. Okay, so at this point, let's do this. Let's see if we can do a play along with the band for this pre-chorus. And it's only going to be 5 bars. So again, we'll start a couple bars before the pre-chorus so you have time to jump in and feel the beat. But we'll keep it at 100% speed. You can slow it down with the cog in the player for YouTube if you need to. But let's give the pre-chorus a shot, and then we'll come back and learn the second chorus.
Was never meant to fall onto you, but with the mistakes that I made, I learned I can change, and every day that you're gone, if you could be mine.
So going into our chorus, we're going to be playing the lead. Remember where we left off. If we look at the last measure, we had the start of the melody line, so kind of like that pickup measure. right? So 7, 9, slide to 11. So that's the first part of this melody. Da, 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 da. So we're going to start off this chorus with playing 9 on string 1 and then 7. And those are going to last half the bar. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tie that into the next measure. Then you start the melody line again on beat 4. So you're going to go index to play 7, middle to play 9, ring to play 11. So we have 7, 9, 11. Then move that ring finger up to 12. Play that, slide up to 14. And then we can come back with our middle finger to play 12. So all on the A string. So if I backtrack to 21, think of it as a complete phrase. So very, very melodic, very catchy, very simple. Da 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 dum bum. Da 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 dum. Right, so if you can sing it, you can play it even if you sing off key. No worries. Singing always helps you get it down. But I think that is pretty simple. Let's see if we can try it together. We'll start from 21, beat 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Slide 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nice. So this last note that we just played, you can see that it gets tied into the first half of the next measure. And then we're going to be playing the melody again, but this time using octave shapes. So go ahead and take your index finger, put it on the 4th fret of string 3, and your pinky on 7 on string 1. Go ahead and pluck those two together. Then go up a whole step to 6, 9, pluck that. And then I want you to pluck 6, 9 again and slide up another whole step. So try to keep it nice and clean, so keep finger pressure held down. So we have 4, 5, 6. One time without me calling. Nice. If we look at the next 4 bars, we're going to come back to 6, 9, play that for half the bar, and then move down to 4, 7. Play that for half the bar. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now if we backtrack, let's look at that entire phrase again. Sounds and looks like that. So let's get rid of all this tab for a sec. Just practice that in and of itself, just those octaves. 4, 7, 6, 9, slide, backwards, backwards. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So just hit pause, practice that, try to keep timing steady, but just really work on getting comfortable moving that octave shape up and down the neck. So going back to where we left off, let's again pull up these 4 bars. So looking where we left off with this octave on 4 and 7. That's going to get tied into the first half of the next measure. Then we're going to start the melody again, but in a different spot on the neck. So we're actually starting where we left off. So go ahead and just lay your index finger flat. You're going to do a partial bar on string 3 and 2 on the 4th fret. We can pluck that, walk the melody up, 5, 7 on the E string, so middle pinky. And then for the next 2 bars, we have a variation in the phrase that we're going to play. It sounds like this. So da 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 da. So you just want to get that rhythm stuck in your head. Bum ba da 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 da. This one quite syncopated, so definitely try to sing this one out. Bum ba da 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 da. So you're going to start on the 7th fret of string 1, and I'm going to use my ring finger to slide up to 9, then go back to 7 with my index, and then back to 9 with my ring, and then pluck it again and slide to 11, then back to 9 with my middle, and back to 7 with my index. So I have slide, 7, 9, slide, 9, 7. Try to call out the frets like that. Slide, 7, 9, slide, 9, 7. Let me clean it up. Slide, 7, 9, slide, 9, 7. So for right now, try to just get it in the ballpark of that rhythm. So ba da 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 da. So let's do this. Let's take away all of this tab. We want to think of the chorus in and of itself again. So we want to think of the melody that we played, which sounds like this. So that's a good gist of everything put together. And it's okay if you're not perfect on time right now. Timing comes when you practice with the backing track. So when you're practicing with the band, because you have the rhythm behind you, you can feel the beat, you can groove so much easier than trying to play it just by yourself like that, because there's a lot of pause in this melody. So it does help a lot to have the rhythm track behind you. But let's do that right now. Let's see if we can play along with the band. So let's give it a shot.
Every day that you're gone, if you could be mine, just like my dreams, nothing we'd find, we'd call it our own.
So as we go into verse number 2, here's the beauty. Verse number 2 is essentially the same stuff we saw in verse number 1. So if we look at the first 2 bars, we see that we are playing the same E sus with the exact same pattern. Look at the next 2. The exact same A add 9. Look at the next 2. Exact same E sus 2. Look at the last 2. Exact same A add 9. So this one is actually even easier than verse 1 because we don't have that change to the major 7. So I think we can skip a play along for verse number 2. Very simple, very straightforward for those 8 bars. And let's jump into the pre-chorus. So the pre-chorus, this time around, this is our second pre-chorus, we are going to be doing more, I would say, traditional rhythm chord work. So here's what our first couple bars sound like. So pattern-wise, if you look at just measure number 38, you can see that it is short, short, and then look at measure 39, long, short. So it's the exact same right hand pattern that we've covered, but the chords are different. So we're going to play a B major. So go ahead and do a partial bar, string 1 and 2, 2nd fret. Add your middle to the 3rd fret of string 3, ring to 4 on string 4. We're going to do the short pattern, so down, 4 pluck, 4. Then we're going to go to an F sharp, it's hardest chord in the song, I would say. So I'm going to go ahead and do a bit of a flip-flop. So watch these 2 fingers. You can see that they do a little bit of a flip-flop. So what's happening is that I'm sliding down a half step. So I'm on 4, 3, flat on 2. I'm going to go ahead and just slide down a half step, 3, 2, flat on 1. Then I'm going to flip-flop these 2 fingers. So my middle finger comes down to the 2nd fret of string 2, and my index finger is going to come up and do a partial bar from 3 down on that 1st fret. So I have the 3rd fret of string 4, 1st fret of string 3, 2nd fret of string 2, 1st fret of string 1. And this gives me the F sharp. Now, when you're doing this transition, you don't want to go ba, ba. You want to do it together. That's the tricky. That's the tricky part. So hit pause on this video. If you haven't done this chord change before, definitely is going to take a bit of practice to get the muscle memory down. but you can always put it in a time frame like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just to practice it. But the pattern you already know how to do. It's the short pattern 2 times in a row. So down, 4, pluck, 4, down, 4, pluck, 4. Then go to the basic A major. Do long, short. Down, 4, pluck, 4, pluck, down, 4, pluck, 4. And that's it. So you just want to practice these 2 bars in and of itself, because they're going to repeat for the next 2 bars. So you can practice 2 times in a row, because as you saw with the tab changing, it's just 2 times in a row. So we already covered 40 and 41. Let's look at what happens for 42. And we're just going to hit the A and let it ring out for the entire measure. So let's do this, guys. Let's see if we can do the pre-chorus play along with the band. This is the second pre-chorus. And again, we'll start a couple bars before, jump in, and give it a shot.
It says that you deserve better, so much better than I can give. But I know in my life feelings can change, and every day that you're gone, if you could be mine.
So for our chorus this time around, instead of copying what the guitar player did last time, which was da 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 ba da 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 da, right? Instead of copying the guitar player for the melodic lines they're playing, we are going to be playing a different melodic line to add more layer to the, or I should say, another layer to the music. So here's what it sounds like. So first thing, we just want to get that stuck in our head. Bum, bum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-da. So if you can sing that, you can play it. Let's break it down. We're going to start with our index finger on 6. We're going to play that twice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pretty simple there. Now for the next measure, we're going to do a pull off, 7 to 6 on string 1. Then play 7 on string 2. And do it again. Okay, but here's the kicker. When you do it again, I want you to use a pivot technique. So watch my middle finger. So my middle finger is going to pivot down to do the pull off. Instead of lifting up, putting it back on fingertip like we would normally do. Okay, so normally we would go lift up, put it on fingertip. This time around, I want you to pivot down. So check it out. Start on fingertip, pivot. Okay. Now we're doing this pivot technique because the song is fast. So it's a quick, brisk tempo. It will make it much more efficient for our left hand to pivot down. It also cleans up our playing and prevents this open E string from accidentally ringing out. That's what it looks like up to speed. Very tricky to do if it's the first time you're doing it. But we're going to do that pivot technique again at the end of this little phrase. So just hit pause, practice, pivot. Practice that. Because if we look at these last few notes that we're going to play, we're going to pivot down, play 7 on string 1, use your pinky to play 9, and then pluck it again, slide up to 11. So watch my pivot. I'll do this for the 2 times I do it. Again. So the pivot technique, very, very tricky if it's the first time you do it, but very, very useful technique to get down to make your playing more efficient in the left hand and cleaner. So all together, these 2 bars sound again like this. Okay, so just practice that on your own, nice and slow, because we'll work on timing when we jump along with the play along with the band. But let's do this. If we look at the next couple bars, we're going to notice it's almost all identical. So the only thing that changes happens in the second half. So if we look at 45, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's exactly identical. If we look at 46, we have that 2 times in a row, identical. Then here's the change, the second half. When you pivot down to play 7 on string 1, you're going to quickly play 7 on string 2, and then play 9, and then slide to 11. The rest is the same. So you have a little variation at the tail end. So it sounds really cool. So together. So if we look at the last couple bars for this chorus, it sounds like this. Very simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So very short and sweet. So I think we can skip a play along for that one because it's literally just an abrupt version. Now let's do this. If I get rid of all this tab and I play through it one time, it sounds like this. Now to get the timing down, again, the best way to practice is with the band. It's quite hard when you have this big spaced out first measure, dun, dun, and then you go into ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da, long held out notes, right? So it's kind of hard to keep timing nice and steady without any music in the background. So let's try the play along with the band for this chorus. Let's give it a shot.
Every day that you're gone, if you could be mine, just like my dreams, love that we find, we call it our own.
Now going into our bridge, we are going to be playing the same right hand patterns that we're familiar with, but we have different chords. So if we look at the first line of tab, we can see that we are playing 4 chords for this opening line. Sounds like this. And the second thing to note, it's all the short pattern. So here's what we have. So very basic shapes. Maybe the first one might be new. It's an A minor 7. So we're going to take our middle finger, put it on the 4th fret of string 3. Ring goes on the 5th fret of string 2. Index is the 3rd fret of string 1. G string is open. So we have short pattern, down 4 pluck 4. Switch to a D, and this D you can use any fingering that's comfortable for you. I like to do this weird thumb middle ring fingering. You could do the fingering that we use, which Matt loves to do, which is your index finger doing a partial bar across 4, 3, and 2. I don't like that fingering. I would rather use something like this, more traditional for me. It's up to you which one you want to use. Just experiment with what works best for you. But we're going to play the D chord with this short pattern, down 4 pluck 4, go to the G, same short pattern, to E minor. So this one is very simple. So we have down 4 pluck 4, down 4 pluck 4, down 4 pluck 4, down 4 pluck 4. So very easy chords. I think we can skip a play along for that. Let's take a look at the next couple bars that we're playing. This time around, we have 3 chords we're playing out of. We have an F sharp diminished. This is probably a new shape. So this one's a little bit tricky. So let's start from the bottom. We're going to take our index, put it on 3 on string 1. Middle finger goes on 5 on string 2. Ring goes 6 on string 3. G string is open. So same short pattern. Then switch to B7. And for B7, it's the bar chord. So bar flat on the 2nd fret, all 4 strings. Middle finger is the 3rd fret of string 3. Same short pattern. Okay, so you want to practice going from the diminished to to that B7. So hit pause and just practice that shape. You can see that I'm leading with my index when I move to the B7. So leading with my index, lifting the other fingers up, then putting the middle down. That's going to be the easiest way to transition between the two shapes. Now for the last measure you see here, we're just going to vamp on E minor. We have long to short. So together. So if we try that together, we have 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and go. Nice. So if I backtrack, everything so far, I have this. So pretty cool sounding so far, right? Here's the neat part. As we go into the next section, which we've labeled the organ solo, let's take a look at what happens. You can see that we are going to be starting on A minor, just the stock A minor instead of that A minor 7. But after the A minor, we go to D, to G, and to a little variation on E minor. So make the E minor staircase, lift your ring finger up, and you get the little variation for this last chord. So it's basically the same chords, just a little variation in two of them. So same short pattern throughout. Okay, so not too bad. If we try together, we have down, da, 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 ba, 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 go. Nice. Now if we look at what happens next, we have what we had just done previously. The diminished, B7, E minor. So identical there. Now if we look at what happens to finish this section, we are just vamping on that E minor one more time. Okay, so what you want to memorize is that this section, this bridge plus organ solo, I would consider one entire section. We have 9 bars in length, and it's going to be A minor 7, D, G, E minor, diminished, B7, E minor. Variation, A minor, D, G, variation, diminished, B7, E minor. Right, and you have one extra measure of E minor. So 9 bars in total. So let's do this, guys. Let's see if we can do a play along then with the band for the bridge and the organ solo.
Love that we find, we call it our
After this, we get into the guitar and the ukulele solo. So again, in the part 2 lesson, I am teaching how to play the solo. So in this lesson, I'm teaching how to play the rhythm underneath the solo. So let's go ahead and kick off with the first 2 bars. And we can see that we have a C major 7 to a D to an E minor. So we have 3 chords that we're playing. And one big change happens. If you look at the second half of this first measure, you can see that our pattern changes. We're going to be doing staccato plucks 3 times in a row, but we'll do that. We'll practice that in just 1 second. So start with a C major 7. It's actually the same shape we did for the E minor with the C in the bass. If you're playing on a high G, it's technically not correct labeling if you're on a low G, but I digress. But we're going to be doing the C major 7, so just the E minor shape without the ring finger. So we have short down, 4 pluck, 4. Then when we change to the D chord, we're going to pluck it 3 times. So after you pluck it, use your right hand, the palm of the right hand, to touch the strings to mute it. That way we get a very pop, pop, pop staccato sound. So we have So there's a few times in a row, and if you want to practice on a loop with me, but a very cool change of the rhythm right here. Look at the next bar. We go back to E minor. Same long to short pattern. So putting those two together, sounds like that. So if we try together, we have ba da da da, 1, 2, go. Nice. Let's look at the next two. We have D to B7 and then back to E minor. So we know D, we know B7, and we know E minor. And if we look at it from what our right hand is doing, it's the same as the last 2 bars. So we have short, pop, 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 E minor, which was long followed by short. So let's see if we can try that together. So we have 1, 2, and 3, pop, pop, go. Nice. If we look at the next two, we have C major 7 to D to E minor. It's identical to the first couple bars we did for this section. So let's skip over that and let's look at what happens next. So 64 and 65. We have D to E minor add 9. So let's look at just the first measure. So we have short followed by the pops on the D. 1, 2, and 3, pop, pop, pop. After that, we're going to a different E minor chord. So this one has a little bit of mystery to its sound. So go ahead and lay flat on the 2nd fret, strings 1 and 2. Add your ring to the 3rd string, 4th fret. G string above is open. The pattern we know, it's just going to be 2 times long. So if we try that together, sounds like that. So we have 1, 2, and 3, pop, pop, go. Nice. So a little bit of a change there because you hang on the D for the entirety of that first bar instead of switching between 2 chords like we did previously. But if we look at what happens next, we look at these next 3 measures, you can see that we keep vamping on that same E minor add 9. So we're going to play one more time for that entire bar, and then we're going to hit it and hold it for 2 measures. So we have long, short, boom, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the best way I think to practice is to go 64 to 68. So if we try that together, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. Nice. Now if you play any of the short when you're supposed to do long, or long when you're supposed to do short, not a big deal. Just make sure you play the correct chord in the correct measure in the tune. That's really what matters. You can change up the rhythm here and there if you wish. But all in all, this entire guitar and uke solo section sounds like this. So very cool section. So let's do this, guys. Let's see if we can do a play along with the band for that entire 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 bar section. After this section, we go into another chorus. And for this chorus, if we look at just these first 2 bars, we're back to E sus2, everything identical. Look at the next 2, A add 9, everything identical. Look at the next 2, this is the only change. Evan throws the major 7 for the first half of this first bar, and then he goes back to E sus2. So it's a slight little variation that I would say is optional. If you want to make it easy, you can just hang on the E sus2 for the entire 2 bars here. But what he does sounds like this. So you can hear a very minor change that he throws in there. I'm going to leave it up to you if you want to do that. I think because it's so minor, we'll skip a play along for it. But let's look at the next 2 bars that actually finishes the chorus. Back to A add 9. So for these 8 measures, it's literally the same thing you have already done, with one little variation where he switches to the E major 7 for a tiny fraction of a second. So I think we can skip the play along for this chorus. Let's move on to the outro. So our outro is actually a continuation of the chorus. It's going to be the exact same thing we did. Let's take a look. We look at the first 2 bars, E sus2. We look at the next 2 bars, A add 9. We look at the next 2 bars, we see that little variation Evan threw in where he goes major 7 to sus2. Again, you can just hang on E sus2 if you want to make it easier for yourself. Look at the next 2, A add 9. Now, here is where our change happens. Look at the last measure here. So this is measure number 84. So instead of hanging on the A9 throughout both of these bars, you can see that when we get to the second measure, we're going to hit it and let it hold out for the first half, and then we're going to play this little melody. Okay, so we're going to be doing double stops. Fancy terminology, that means 2 notes at once. So go ahead and lay flat on the 4th fret, strings 3 and 2. Pluck that, then add your ring finger to 6 and your middle finger to 5. So string 3, string 2. We can pluck that, and then we can pluck it again and slide up a whole step. So we are going to end on 8 and 7. So we have 4, 6, 5, slide. Okay, so 4, 5, 6. If I try it together from the start of the first measure we see here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sounds like that. Let's try together. Ba da 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 ba 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 da da. Ready? Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So not too bad. Looking at the last 4 bars to end this tune, we're going to go back to where we were, so 6, 5, so just move down a whole step, pluck that, back to flat on 4, pluck that, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold it out into the first half of the next measure, so 1, 2, 3, then we're going to play 4, 5, 7, all on string 2, and then use the middle finger to go 7 to 9 on string 1, and you're done. So this 4 bars together sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're done. You don't have to count anymore. But if I play it from 83 to the end, I get this. 2, 3, 2, 3. and that's going to end the tune. So we should be fading out at that point. So I think we'll skip play along for the end with the band because it's pretty repetitive in terms of us literally just going the E to the A for the most part. But that is everything, guys. This was quite an ambitious lesson. There's a lot to this song, but as you saw, there's also a lot of repetition in terms of the chords we're playing, the right hand finger picking and strum pattern that we're doing, which makes learning it a lot easier than if we had new for every single measure. Now, I do want to give you a friendly reminder that in the part 2 lesson, we are going to be learning the really cool solo that Evan did. So if you want to jump into that lesson, you can do so by clicking this link right here, or going to the site, rockclass101.com, do a search for Just Like My Dreams. Don't forget too, on that page were the tabs that you can print off to keep for your record. So we have the lesson version, which is what I just taught you, plus a note-for-note transcription of what Evan did in the performance, plus the on-screen tab viewer, so you can literally hit play, watch the tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz, and last but not least, backing tracks. So when you finish learning how to play this tune, you can download the backing track. We'll have 100% speed and 75% speed, so you can rock out with the band at home. So guys, I hope you enjoyed learning this tune with me. I will catch you in the part 2 lesson, but until then, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.